For me personally, I understand it's everybody's opinion, so you got to respect it. But we all know Errol Spence Jr. Errol Spence is a junior. Errol Spence Jr. is a guy who's gonna tell the truth for the most part. I'm not saying he's perfect. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is, if you look at his history, you look at Terrence Crawford history, you see a big difference. So I don't see no reason why Errol Spence need to lie. Now, the Terrence Crawford fans, even the Errol Spence fans, was asking for Errol Spence to come out and to clarify the reason why the fight happened. I have made videos saying, get this man some time. He gonna come out, he gonna explain. What happened is Errol Spence said something they didn't like. They was hoping that Errol Spence was gonna come out and just say Terrence Crawford was the better man, because they said after the fight that Errol Spence didn't make no excuses. So they was looking for Errol Spence to come back and don't make excuses, which he's not making excuses. He's giving you straight facts. Now, y'all asked for this man to come and to clarify where he's at, where Errol Spence at. He's quiet. He's on vacation, all this stuff. Errol Spence came back, told the truth, and now they're in their feelings. So Errol Spence is going to keep it real. Now, we all know normally when we go to work, I went to work hurt. My back was bothering me so bad I had to take pain pills and put stuff on my back. I was moving like a 99-year-old man. I went to work and worked for that paycheck. So why do we think that Errol Spence and these boxers, knowing that boxers jump in the ring injured, look what happened to Gary Russell Jr., had a shoulder injury. Look what happened to Tank Davis, had a hurt hand. Look what happened to some of these fighters. These fighters jump in the ring injured because they have a competitive mind, a competitive nature where they want to make that money. They feel that they can still overcome their opponent with an injury. Now, we all know that this fight is a big fight. And we know that Errol Spence or Terrence Crawford, now one of them would have canceled this fight even if they was injured. Now, I heard somebody or a couple of people say that that Errol Spence should have came out and just said something, you know what I'm saying, whatever the case might be. You have to give this man time. Now he came out and said something. It's not an excuse. He gave you what you wanted. It might not be what you wanted to hear, but he gave you what you wanted. Now, we all know that somebody say, I can't remember who said it, said that that this might set back, the fight between Errol Spence and Terrence Crawford. I haven't heard a date. I haven't heard a venue. Last time I heard, they were still in negotiations. Now, we all know that Terrence Crawford liked to play around and move around like a sloth. And that was the reason why we didn't get the first fight, is because Terrence Crawford played around and fought David Avanesyan. So if anybody has a problem with the fight being delayed, then you should have had a problem with Terrence Crawford delaying the fight when he fought David Avanesyan. But nobody had nothing to say about that. Nobody had nothing to say about Terrence Crawford saying all these crazy radical things that was okay with it. But now you got the truth come out and tell you the God honest truth, and now people, that ain't gonna work over here, buddy. Just slow down and hold up. But regardless, Errol Spence came out with the truth, no matter if you believe it or not, but all it takes is a little research. Now, once again, I understand everybody has their opinion, and however a person feel, cool, I have no problem with that. I respect everybody. But we all know that if you line EJ up and you line Terrence Crawford up, we know that if anybody gonna make an excuse, it's gonna most likely be Terrence Crawford and not Errol Spence Jr. That's all I gotta say.
All right. So I want to put something in perspective here. And then I want Band Up to detail something. Now, then we're going to get to D35. Here's the thing. Errol Spence was in that ring, and I told y'all this when I gave y'all my evaluation of the fight. When Errol Spence got up in the second round after getting knocked down, he was hurt. When he got up in the fourth round after getting knocked down, he was hurt even more. And when he got knocked down again in the third round and got up, he was hurt even more. But he kept getting up because he wanted to finish the fight for 12 rounds. That's not an opinion. We know that is a fact. That's why he kept getting up. So if he was getting knocked down and beat up and he was hurt for nearly 8.5 to, let's say, 7.5 rounds, and he was going to finish the fight in the fight, you best to believe before the fight even happened, it don't matter how hurt he was going to go in there and he was going to go get that bread and beat Crawford to his own mind when I say beat Crawford, because that's the mentality that he has. He been working his whole life to become undisputed in the welterweight division in the 4-belt era. He was not going to let this fight slip away from him. Remember, Errol Spence was on course. Every time he got in the interview, he made it extremely clear, I want Terrence Crawford. Yeah, I'm going to do this with Pacquiao on the side of the street because they're easy to make like any other promoter do. But I want Terrence Crawford. I want that WBO belt, and he got it, and I want him. He was adamant. But Terrence Crawford, he wasn't. And so I'm only saying that to give Errol credit. Y'all, you got to give him a little credit too now. Y'all can say it's an excuse, and I'm okay with your opinion, but you have to give the man credit based on his behavior patterns. His behavior patterns was, I want Crawford. I want to fight him. I want to make history. So it don't matter. It don't matter what injury he sustained. If that doctor cleared him, he was going to get in there, and he was going to make sure he competed and get that check. And I stand on this. If the shoe was on Terrence Crawford's foot, him being the competitive, I got to give him credit too now. He'd have did the same thing. Want to know why? Because he been fighting lesser competition for a fraction of the money he made in this fight. So you don't think somebody going to tell him 15 to 30 million? He'd have got in there with one toe as well. Because he's a competitor. He's a fighter. You know what I mean? So I'm giving credit to Crawford as well. Both of them would have did that. These guys are professional athletes. These guys ain't just wake up in the morning and just start boxing. They've been boxing for 20, 30 years, these guys. Since they're little kids. And the biggest fight, they weren't going to let this. Nah, they weren't going to let this. That's just my opinion, just knowing that mindset of a professional boxer. They weren't going to let this. They weren't going to let this fight slide, injury or not. D35, you heard everybody. Your Boost Mobile was acting up. Hopefully you back and you got it popping again. What's going on, D35, my brother?
So you come out swinging already, man. I was trying to say what's up and everything. You come out, you put me in the Boost Mobile now.
You started with me yesterday, brother. I had to come in. You know. I'm just messing with you, bro.
Nah, it's all love. So the difference is being hurt and being injured is two different things. Anybody that plays sports, you can compete while you're hurt. That's the rib injury. Mm-hmm. Being injured is the eye thing. He could have had that surgery, hold on, let me get off camera real fast. After the car crash, he had damage to the eye. After leading up, when he was in training camp for Pacquiao, he suffered a torn retina or the detached retina. So he already knew, his team knew, his medical doctors knew about this eye problem. So after the Ugas fight, he chose, from my understanding, to not even get that surgery done. When they was in negotiations, Bud went on and did his thing with David Avenisius. He had plenty of time to get this checked out because he alluded to that the eye injury was before this fight. He been had cataracts. You're not going to develop cataracts within in a boxing fight. You're not going to. It's impossible. So he had this injury with his eye before he could have got it checked out, but he chose not to. I don't know why. And then after the fight, then with the rib injury, everybody suffered injuries. I'm not saying he's lying about nothing. I believe the eye injury. I believe the rib injury. But you come out after the fight and say you're not going to make excuses. He even got on his fans and people telling him, like, who raised y'all? Y'all making up all these excuses. Who raised y'all? I'm from the old law. And then after the fight, he could have got the eye surgery taken care of. He could, he chose not to up until they was getting into the works of trying to make the rematch happen. Everybody wanted to see the rematch. Well, I ain't gonna say everybody, but I guess maybe 40% of the people to watch the fight wanted to see the rematch. And it's like, now you bring this up, you post on social media, I'm back with the TD Jakes, you back on social media. Then the next couple days or whatever, you post this, you in a wheelchair with you looking like, you sounding and looking like Bill Cosby when he was on trial, man. Like you was walking, the next couple days, now you can't walk, you can't see and all this. And I ain't saying it's not true. I believe he had a rib injury. Now, a broken rib, I'm not going with that. You're not competing with a broken rib. You can't breathe. You damaging up, hurting yourself. Like, you're not gonna be able to fight with a broken rib. An injured rib, yes, just kind of like what Pacquiao gave an excuse with the shoulder, where he had to get the shot in the shoulder. Tank Davis hurt his hand in the ring, or up until coming into the fight, he had a hand injury. But I mean, it just looked bad far as the timing. It just looked bad for the timing, and you pushed the fight back even more. Like, we waited 6 months to after 6 months. It's supposed to happen in December. You speak about things that's going to push the fight back even more in January, and it's like, what did you try to gain sympathy, or I just don't get the point of saying something at that time.